Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like the Cardinals, everyone is shocked when they do well. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined by my co-host, Ben Simone.
Hey, Nate.
If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS, or you can be like Ryan S. from the Birdscord, who submitted that via the Birdscord. You can join that by checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, it's nice of him to say that we do well sometimes, I guess, is my takeaway there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a nice positive outlook. Haters to the left.
Yeah.
Benny to the right.
Box. Put your bennies in the box to the left.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Ryan, just watch it, pal.
Actually, I don't think we've been aggressive enough against the people who take the time to submit these opening bits.
A lot of people don't realize that Nate and I have hair triggers.
Yeah, we've talked about how many fights that I've been in several times on this show. I have a pretty imposing overall vibe and demeanor, I think,
Yeah.
So yeah, Ryan, you're on notice.
Yeah. I mean, from the neck up, huge guy.
That happens to me. I get that a lot because I like a lot of people. I spend a fair amount of my life at this point on video calls, and as Ben is referencing, I got a big neck to support the big old noggin. So people will I thought you'd be taller a lot when I see people, and I'm 5'10". I'm not short, but I'm not tall either. I'm like exactly Western male average height. But I get a lot of, I thought you'd be taller. And I think it's because they see me filling 90% of the screen. And they say, oh, that guy must be, frankly, he must be 6'8" or so to be able to support that melon there.
He has to have custom shirts to fit that neck.
It's true. It's true. When if I get a shirt and it needs to be like a suit or tailored or something, they start at a large and then tailor it down to a small in every other facet.
Yeah. It's shocking when you see it in real life. I hope most of you don't have to.
Terrible neck pain. I'm constantly in discomfort. But such is life, I suppose.
Heavy as the crown, eh?
Yeah, heavy as the head. On the shoulders.
Wow.
Hambone, you are fresh from the desert. You went to Coachella last weekend. Tell me about it. How was it?
I would not use the word fresh. I'm feeling, I'm getting older, Nate.
Folks. Yeah,
getting older. 4 days in the desert. The bounce back is a lot slower than it used to be when we first started going.
And you, I know it's all day outside, but you also you're like luxury attending Coachella at this point, right? You have your little private jet. You've got your little, they build a little hotel there for you. And I believe you're being hosed down most of the time you're there. Is that correct?
That Patreon money doesn't spend itself, baby,
It's a business write-off.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Trying to get us to play at one of the stages some year, but it's taking longer than I had hoped,
Yeah. So you're living the luxury life, but how was it? Anything, I guess to be more specific, like any standout performances?
Yeah. It was a really good year, especially the first 2 days really had, jam-packed schedules. I think on Friday I was watching music happen live from 2 until 1 a.m., 2 p.m. till 1 a.m. It was
nice.
Just a crazy, crazy day. Yeah, I think like a couple or one thing like maybe my biggest surprise of the weekend was something called the Bob Baker Marionettes, which is a
Okay.
apparently it's like a marionette theater that exists in West LA. I guess kind of in the middle of nowhere, but they had a performance at Coachella, and it is a bunch of marionettes playing like kind of like doing a jukebox musical, but there's also
Yeah.
like a master of ceremonies that's a cat, but they were all marionettes, and like
Okay.
aliens eventually came and
Yeah.
started singing and dancing and abducting us, but
Love that.
that was very fun. And then I had maybe one of the best runs of just concerts in a row that I've ever had at a Coachella. It was in about 2.5 hours, 3-ish hours. I saw Nine Inch Noise, which is Nine Inch Nails and Boys Noise together, but it's basically just remixed Nine Inch Nails songs.
Okay.
Then I saw it was when Nine Inch Noise, The Strokes, David Byrne, Interpol, back to back to back to
It's
back.
pretty good.
And it was, The Strokes, Nine Inch Noise, and Interpol I'd never seen before. All three very important bands that I really love.
Yeah.
And then having David Byrne squished in the middle there was just great. So had some really, really, really good times. Some huge bucket list bands that I got to see. The XX, which is a band that was important to me back like
Yeah.
in like high school, early college. Seeing
Sure.
them come back together was a really good time. Yeah, it was great. It was great. Strokes were that's like I think I said this last episode, like maybe my favorite band that I haven't seen, and
Yeah.
they kicked ass, and it was a good
I'm
time.
surprised. So were they? And I worry about becoming moving into old man talking about old rock bands at this point. Conversation here, but did they play before Interpol on the set list?
Yeah, it's always weird. Like, so the way that they do it is like your main headliner, like your Sabrina Carpenter and Justin Bieber's, they'll
Sure.
play at like 10 or 11 or something like that. And then the sub headliner, whatever you want to call it, who was the Strokes and the XX, they play at like 8 or 9. And then chaos happens after that. Like I saw Blood Orange started their set at like midnight.
Okay.
Which is a band I really like. Interpol, I think they started their set at midnight or 11:30 or
Okay.
something like that.
That makes
So,
more sense. I love
yeah.
them, and I don't think they've played out for a long time, so I could see them maybe being higher billed just out of like a legacy thing, but still kind of surprised if they were billed
They're
ahead of the Strokes.
without getting too much into it, it's also like the size of the stage, and
Yeah.
like, the Strokes played at the main stage. There was probably 90,000 people watching them, and Interpol played at a much smaller stage, and there was probably 5,000 people watching them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was I think there were 250,000 people there over the 2 weekends. It was
Too
one
many
of the
people.
biggest ones that have ever happened. It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I see David Byrne this Tuesday here in
Very
St.
cool.
Louis, and I am incredibly excited. That is a bucket list item for me. Massive Talking Heads fan, as you know, and I missed him on the America Utopia tour that came through,
Yeah.
6 years ago or whatever, and I've regretted it every day. So I'm literally every day I wake up and I go,
Yeah.
So I'm glad to catch it on this round. Very,
Yeah.
very excited. Any good bites out there in the desert?
Yeah. I had some good bites. Man, I had some really terrible birria. It was like one of the first things I ate. It just had no flavor to it.
That's a tough thing to mess up. It's
I
like a salt.
know.
It's a salt bomb. How do you?
It didn't
salty,
come with
cheesy-
consomme either.
Well, then it's not birria.
It was advertised as.
Yeah.
Outside of that, God, it's a blur. I had some. Oh no, I know what it was. It was these like Korean steak kimchi fries. It was like
Okay. Now we're talking.
kimchi with some type of really spicy, tasty Korean like beef on French fries, covered in, and yeah, it was really good. I also had a really good like shaved ice type thing that was hidden in the middle of the day with that sun up, even though I was being hosed down by my servants or whatever.
I was
you were
gonna
saying
say
earlier.
I was about to ask if you had your personal assistant handing you each individual fry, or if you were lifting a finger to consume them or not.
No, I do it. I'll get a fork, they fork it into my mouth. They throw the fork away. They get another fork. They
Yeah,
fork
of
it in.
course.
Yeah, yeah. You get it.
Single-use forks.
Yeah.
Where I know you're big on that.
Yep. Yep.
Each one it's shrink wrapped and in a plastic packaging.
Well, I think it's
which
fair to say that once it touches my mouth, it is no longer clean. Obviously.
Right. It's
Yeah.
actually better for everyone if those are immediately. That's why you carry around that tiny little incinerator.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I liked all the music we saw. The only thing that was kind of a bummer was Moby. We caught the end of
Well,
Moby's set,
I mean,
and
what are you really expecting at this point going to
no,
see
I know, you're right. But it's like, when am I ever going to see Moby? We had
Sure.
we had a gap in the schedule, and
That is part of the point of the Giant Festival, I think, is that
yeah.
you can just go and dip into a set and be like, well, I perceived Moby. I guess
I
I'm
have,
glad I did that.
yeah. And unsurprisingly, he talked about being vegan like within the first 5 minutes of us walking up. It was very funny. Devo was there.
Yeah.
It was a really good one. It's like, I think we're getting to the point. I think also, like, millennials are at the age now where, like, we have a little bit of money to spend, but it was like millennial Cella this year. It was obviously, the headlines are all for young folks.
Yeah.
But in between all those bands and artists I've just listed, it was pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good. Well, I saw Project Hail Mary while you were gone. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this, Hambo?
I have seen this.
Yeah. I was thinking, if you ever are like doing something to try to make Mary your wife feel really, really good about herself, you could call it Project Hail Mary.
That
How do
was
you think
really
about
good.
that? How do you
That
think
was
about
good.
that?
Yeah.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I think one of my favorite movies I've seen in a while. But I've got a little lament for you. I saw it at the Alamo, and I got my bottomless popcorn, which I love, and ordered a water with a little lemon wedge because I like to party. And they never brought it. And, I feel really awkward about the phone thing now, not wanting to bring out my phone. And I was like, whatever, I am going to be ordering a strawberry shake later because I got a free shake as an Alamo guy. So I'll just get that later. And I pulled out my phone, hurriedly ordered that, and they never brought that either. So I had to do the whole movie as a dry guy. I'm like, what am I seeing Dune here? Not a drop of water in sight. That's all I got for you.
You're doing like shtick at me. Just talk to me, Nate.
That was a story.
I guess.
And it was annoying. But I loved the movie.
Okay. Yeah, I like the movie
what was I
too.
seeing Dune here?
Yeah. I think Rocky would do pretty well on Dune.
I think Rocky would do very well on Dune. Is Ryan Gosling our best Ryan?
Ooh.
I think he
Ontario.
well, that's a good one. Brendan
Are
Ryan.
Are there other Ryans?
Ryan Reynolds.
Don't like him.
I get my phone service directly from him, of course.
I do as well, actually. So I guess I like him for that.
Yeah.
Ryan. I can't think of a single other Ryan in the world right now.
Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan is technically a Ryan.
That's a good Ryan.
I just start typing Ryan into Google.
Should we just get into
Ryanair? Ooh, one of your best budget airlines.
Oh,
Ryan Garcia is a professional boxer.
Okay.
The rest.
I think it comes down to Meg Ryan or Ryan Gosling. Or Brendan Ryan, I think.
Brendan, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. This is good. I like this. We should change the podcast to this.
To talking about Ryan's. All right, well, I'm glad you're back from Coachella. Good work all around. What?
Are you glad?
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about the Cardinals. While you were out, Hambone, the Cardinals managed to sweep the Houston Astros and continue to play above their expectations, play above their run differential, play above their Pythagorean theme, basically play Pythagorean record, basically play above everything right now
Yeah.
of what we thought would happen, and frankly, what most of the underlying metrics say should be happening. Which, there's some things to unpack there, but we're a positive show. We're an optimistic show. I think to start this season has been considerably more fun than we expected it, and I would not have thought that in the first month the Cardinals would sweep Houston Astros. Of course, they have their own problems, but they have been mashing, and still the Cardinals managed to hold them, or at least score more runs than them, and are in second place in the division. And I mean, everybody in the division is over 500 right now, which is wild. But frankly, they're just in a better spot than they've been, or than we expected them ever really to be this season. You were completely away from it all, but how'd you feel coming back and looking at what the Cardinals kind of accomplished while you were out?
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously surprised. I think you were hitting on this, but it is worth noting that the Astros have really stumbled out of the gates. So I do think that this was a little bit of like the Cardinals' magic is working right now, and Houston's kind of trending the wrong direction. I do think that Houston will probably be just fine. They still have a lot of pretty solid players. They still have some young guys that I have high expectations for. They have some pitching that, if and when healthy, I have a pretty high expectation for. And there's some names in their bullpen who are very good. So I do feel like they'll turn it back around. But yeah, I don't know what to say as far as like the offense not being the problem is kind of crazy. The fact that the Cardinals have inarguably one of the better offenses in baseball, like top half at the very least, is a little surprising, especially when you look at the average age of our position player group. And then I also think when you turn it around to look at the way that the bullpen has been performing for the entire beginning of the season, this is kind of amazing. I think that we are definitely getting lucky on some timing, like some sequencing of events right now. And I don't expect that to stick around forever. But we talked about it with C70 a couple of weeks ago. These are banked wins. You can't take them away, Nate. We got 14 wins. You cannot subtract from that number. And the fact that they are doing better than we expected, I think, projects the rest of the season. Like, there's the gambler's fallacy does not exist, right? It's like just because they're having a relative hot streak right now doesn't 100% guarantee that they're going to have a corresponding cold streak. So it's kind of fun. It's showing development. I think we have to be really young with the way that the really young guys that are structurally part of this team's future are performing, like JJ and Ivan. We've seen him kind of break out a little bit since we last chatted. Burley is really smacking them around.
You called out in last week's episode that Ivan had all the ingredients for the breakout, and he hit a couple home runs this year or this week, including one today. And also just one quick correction, because I pulled it up while you were talking. Because the Cardinals lost today, we were recording after the Wednesday loss. They are now in fourth place because everybody is basically separated by 2 games in the NL Central. So not that it really matters.
The NL East would have like no competitive competition this early in the season, and they would all be located in the Central. It is very funny how early baseball has played out.
Yeah, though 3 of the NL East teams have better run differentials than the Cardinals right now. Run
diff ain't record.
Run diff ain't record. But a couple things on that. The Cardinals currently have a negative 11 run differential, which is one of the worst in the NL, bottom 5th, I believe, or like bottom 3rd. And they've allowed basically 30 more runs than anyone else in the NL Central. And they have not played a single game against a team with a record over 500 yet.
Yeah.
Now, partly they are winning, so they are helping keep that. They're playing a lot of teams that are like in the middle of the pack and they're beating them, so they're keeping those teams below 500. But they haven't really faced any real competition yet, or at
Well,
least when they have played good teams, it's been early and they've been beating them. So, kind of jury's still out on that.
yeah, I mean, I don't think we've seen anything that is evident that the Cardinals are a true talent. What's their winning percentage right now? A little, well over 500. I don't think
Yeah,
anybody who's watching these games is thinking that, or at least you shouldn't be thinking that. However,
583, by the way.
you are seeing, I think, the arrow trend in the right direction, but there is just not enough quality pitching on this team for anybody to
Yeah,
really be hopeful about that. And that's, like I said, the bullpen has been hard to watch. Not hard to watch. No, it is kind of hard to watch because when you lose
I,
games like this, it really stinks. It's hard to hold a lead, and even with Yvonne and Burley and Walker and Mason and Church all contributing offensively, it's hard to overcome the Ryan Stanek meltdown.
yeah. Well, I wonder if after last night's game, which he didn't even come in a high leverage situation. It was a leverage spot. He came in with a 4-run lead in the ninth, but it was the sort of standard Ryan Stanek experience at this point, which is walking a ton of guys and getting a few strikeouts and usually giving up a few runs. But the fact that he came in and not a typical high leverage situation in that moment, and then still really struggled, I suspect that we're about to see another reshuffling of the leverage ladder, because the good parts of the bullpen, Riley O'Brien, Jojo Romero, they've been consistent. Brule is looking good. Soriano's looking good. I wonder, frankly, if we just had not been using Ryan Stanek in all these
Yeah.
spots, the standings would be, or the record would be even better, and probably give up 10 less runs or whatever.
Graceffa has been a nice little surprising
been.
success story early in the season.
Yeah, it's surprising or just nice to see, because I think we've all been pretty high on Graceffa as from a skill standpoint. It's just like having him here and healthy and contributing. I'm not super surprised he's doing well. I'm just really glad that he's actually here and healthy and contributing.
Yeah,
But
I feel the same way. I think so yeah, to kind of round out the way that you opened, yeah, it's been very fun. The fact that they swept the Astros was kind of crazy. I think the Astros are better than the Cardinals. But you saw homers from what felt like everybody on the team during that series. You saw good defense all over the place. I think that as the season has gone on, we are feeling really good about the overall defense of this team, even with the kind of less exciting spots of Nolan Gorman. Pedro Pages hasn't really been like as good as we expect from him to start the season. But everyone else on the team has been so darn good that it's been nice.
Well, let's dig into some of the specifics. I think one of the nicest sort of surges over the last week, one of the most exciting to me, and frankly kind of relieving in some ways, is Masyn Winn is maybe starting to turn it on a little bit. He's had a good little run here. You want to run us through some stats?
Yeah, what I really liked is that they were talking about this on the broadcast last night, and he was just talking about sticking, on his backside, hitting the ball the other way. And Masyn Winn, not a traditional power hitter, but I do think that he has enough power to be dangerous and hit some doubles. And obviously we saw a nice little Crawford Box home run over the weekend. But since you and I last talked, he has got 10 hits, hasn't walked since we last chatted, but who needs to walk when you're racking up hits to that degree? And it's kind of like we're so early in the season, like 1 week of him being maybe a little lucky, but balls landing in the outfield completely turned his season around. He raised it up to a 117 WRC plus. Like I said, that homer, by the way, he's got 3 steals already on the season, which if you extrapolate those numbers for the rest of the year, we're looking at a career high for Masyn Winn.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's walking more than he's ever walked, at least so far in the season. So I think we're still seeing, like, when he was coming up in 23, or when we talked about him taking over the role in 2024, the thing we kept saying is that he always improves. He always finds a way to get better. He always finds a way to, take his game to the next level. Last year, it ended with a whimper with the injury and everything like that. I think we might be witnessing at least some of the signs of Mason's game offensively evolving again, and that's patience.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I think everybody, every single Cardinal fan absolutely loves Masyn Winn, and we've perceived him as the face of the franchise, at least the hopeful face of the franchise, for a very long time. And the defense is obviously there, but you could start. There's this little inkling of worry starting to build. Of, is he never really going to hit other than maybe a reasonable batting average, which frankly, with his defense, he doesn't need to be offensive superstar. But the dream, like the Rafael for call comp was thrown around a lot. And I think that is still the dream for him. And it's nice to see him starting to turn it back on. And even if he's just sort of a hit machine, that is stealing bases and every once in a while is getting a home run, with that defense, like, truly valuable player. We saw the floor last year with 3.5 F4 and basically a lost season offensively.
I think if he can WRC plus around 110, 117, what he has right now, like, you're talking about a perennial all-star type player.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that.
The floor is so high.
And I do think that he will have like a MVP type season at some point. I think he'll have a season where he hits like 25 homers, and is one of the best shortstops in baseball, and we'll start banging the drum for MVP. Hopefully that's in a Cardinals uniform.
I hope so. Nothing would make me happier than for us banging the MVP drum for Masyn Winn. That's
just because you like drums so much, right?
I do like drums.
He likes
I got a drum set,
bass drum,
one of our top drums. Ooh, right there next to it, snare drum. Also
floor tom, floor tom.
Dude, this guy's on a roll. Yeah, I like it. Some people call them tom toms. Isn't that fun? Yeah. How about that?
Cymbals. Is that a drum?
Not a drum.
Yeah.
Key part of a drum kit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if we're talking about the drum kit, the little chair that you guys sit on,
crucial.
Gotta have
for a long time, because I was stupid and broke. I played drums in a band for a long time, and I used this little shitty painter's chair, and it was so stupid and so bad, but I didn't want to spend the $45 for a chair, a throne. They call them a throne. Because drummers need everything possible to make themselves feel better about their role in the band, so they call the chair the throne.
That makes sense.
And I finally got one after a while. Downgrade
sticks.
Yeah,
I mean, if we're talking about, you gotta say sticks.
Definitely a integral part. Although you can play drums without sticks, but you can't play drums without drums. So less important.
I want to talk about Nathan Church.
Yeah. I always say we meet on Sundays, but we've been meeting every day of the week this week. Nathan Church has been on fire. Thanks a lot from the Birdscord.
He had a great start, right? Homer, first game, and then just fell into a pit. It was, times were bad, Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
But we've come around. He is, the 15th is, I believe that's the day you and I last chatted. Since then, he's been picking up hits. He had 3 hits that day. He had a homer on Tuesday of this week. It was last night, Tuesday of this week. He's been playing his great defense. I think his arm is something that's surprising me a little bit out there. but he's had a really nice little week and kind of turned it around. And it is like, same thing with Masyn Winn. You have one good week and it does really make your season look a lot better.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling for MVP Nathan Church anytime soon or anything like that. But I do think this is more representative of the type of play that I expected. He's got decent bat speed. All of the tools are there for Nathan Church to be good. You look at all of the underlying tools, you look at all of like the exit velocity numbers and everything like that. It all could happen. Can he hit lefties? I'm not sure. Can he be consistent at the plate? I'm not sure. But I do think he can do damn near everything else pretty well or better than pretty well.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why the Cardinals have committed to him so much early this season. And partly is, of course, just a lack of overall options, but also partly is let's see what this guy has. And a few of these home runs have been quite clutch. And when he gets it, he gets it. You know what I mean? These have not been tiny little shots right over the wall. He absolutely crushes it sometimes. So he's another guy like a Masyn Winn. If he's in a premium defensive position, you don't need that much at the bottom of the lineup alongside that defense to make him not just sort of this fringy fourth outfielder type guy, but an actual contributing member to the team long term. I'm not there yet. We need to see it more consistently and for longer periods, but it is like you said, it's funny how much a week can change.
Yeah.
I think we had it on the outline for last week to talk about our concerns about Nathan Church. We ended up not getting to it for time. I know that sounds crazy, but we actually do edit for time a little bit on this show. And we ended up cutting it, but here we are a week later having an inverse conversation, which all just speaks to the absolutely absurd effort of trying to do a weekly show about baseball, and also the fact that it's 3.5 weeks into the season or whatever it is.
Yeah. There's something that's like each. Is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks of baseball is equal to one NFL game or something like that? Like, there's just so much.
I think there's 18 games in football now and 162 in baseball. So it's like 8% of the season is one.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. So
you guys get it. You get what we're saying here.
They get everything we're saying.
You can put it together on your own time. You don't need us.
Counter to the fact that they listen to this show, I think it's pretty obvious that our listeners are probably the single smartest people in the world, I think.
In the world?
In the world. All of them.
Okay.
And they feel they dumb down a little bit to listen to our show to feel connected with the people.
Okay. So this is an act of charity.
Yeah, and they all float around in their little hover cars.
Interesting.
They all have Baron Harkonnen style, whatever hover pods.
Yeah, to kind of slide around their body that is too large to move.
While they laugh at me not getting any drinks in my movie.
Yeah, you're comparing them to Baron Harkonnen,
but like a good one.
Okay.
Yeah,
José Fermín.
They get it.
José Fermín,
your boy,
Nathan.
Yeah,
he hit a homer.
Talk about?
He also played in center field, which
I know.
Why?
I was thinking about that earlier. How you at one point said one of his advantages, is that he's bad at defense.
That's a mischaracterization of what I was trying to illustrate. But the fact that he is not tied down anywhere, the fact that he has optionality, he's got a go bag at all times. He can, moment's notice, apparently play center field.
Yeah, I was surprised as well. I guess anything goes in a rebuild,
Sure.
Let's give it a shot.
I'm a big fan of José Fermín. I think that he's capable of anything. He is not the fastest player on the team. And again, I was out in the desert. I was distracted. I wasn't fully locked into the meta that was happening in Cardinals world over this weekend, but I found that to be a bizarre move. I can't imagine we're going to see it anytime soon. I guess it speaks to the issue of like not really having a right-handed outfielder that can play center field is the
Yeah.
only thing that I can possibly think of. That being said, I am on Josh Baez's watch. That's going well down in AAA right now.
Mostly well.
Yeah.
Striking out a little bit more than you would like, but
we all do though. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Me.
Um,
But I found that bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what I just said is anything goes in a rebuild, and they're like, well, this is the lineup we want. These are the at-bats that we want, and this is the way for us to do it. It's the only way that it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
I also think he looks slow in the outfield. He looked very slow in left field, very slow in center field. Typically, a skill that is synonymous with good outfield defense is speed, particularly in center field. So I've been surprised. I would be surprised if it happens again outside of some sort of break glass situation. But I imagine right now it's just all about prioritizing at bats and lineup consistency or something like that. I don't know.
Speaking of speed in center field, how concerned are you with Victor Scott? We're 23 games in played for Victor Scott. He is a 43 WRC plus. He has 3 stolen bases. He's walking at an okay clip. He's striking out maybe a little too much for my liking for his skill set. There was almost no thump at all. He has 1 extra base hit on the year so far. How long do you keep doing this? Do you just?
It's rough. It's rough, Hambone. After a full year last year, where he put up a 296 OBP over basically a full season. So, I mean, I think the leash is longer than this.
Yeah.
The replacement is José Fermín, I guess. So, or Nathan Church.
Nathan Church.
Really.
You put Church there. Yeah.
You put Church there. And then, Sajaci in left more regularly, or Fermín in left more regularly, or whatever it may be. I think this was always on the table after last year. The hope of the like standard growth and takeover of center field from the long term for Victor Scott, like that really started, my hopes for it started to diminish. But of course, it's a new year coming in, hyped on everybody, fully ready for the Victor Scott breakout. He was supposed to be the guy who not only is elite defense, but has a little bit of offensive upside. I remember early, again, these are like peak numbers. He's a very young guy now, but people had put on him a 20 home run ceiling. Again, I would say that's like when he's 26, 27, 28. I would never have expected it right now. But for a guy to have that type of power later, you normally see a little bit better of a plate approach at this age, and just better overall numbers at this age and time in the league. So not feeling great about it. But I don't think you really do anything about it just yet. I do think that upside is still there. There's nobody knocking down the door unless Nathan Church, I know, but that it doesn't like open the door for someone else who we're really excited about, at least not yet. Josh Baez, notwithstanding. So I think you just keep doing it, but it's rough. And then you take into consideration that he has a bunch of these like bunt singles that are actually elevating that WRC plus, that can only get you so far. People will adjust. I mean, I think he would be pretty successful at it if he did it all the time, but there's only so far you can go with that. So we need to see a real adjustment and some real consistency at the plate before you do start to say like, well, I don't know, option or whatever, to let him work on it somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm calling for the option to AAA or anything like that, but it has been like, it's a black hole. It's about, you know, you can always get worse, I suppose. But the one extra base hit is what really kind of caught me off guard, especially a guy with his speed where you think he'd be getting cheap doubles all of the time, but he's just not making contact. So, if you're not making contact, you can't really do much with it. You can't utilize your speed almost at all. Um, and it's been disappointing. He is great in center. There's no argument there, but it's not coming together quite yet. And
No,
hopefully
but
he can click in.
what are we looking at here? 72 plate appearances.
Yeah.
So.
Well, again, it goes back to the same conversation that we were having about Nolan Gorman. If I didn't have a season and a half of this kind of Victor Scott previous to it, I wouldn't even think about it or bring it up, but I do. And it's been just like trending down for a few weeks. It's like there hasn't been a sign of life for a bit, and that's why I even bring it up.
And to contradict my own point, he is 25, which is still young in baseball, but 25 with a couple years in the bigs, like he's not the 22-year-old or 23-year-old Jordan Walker, right? Like he's one of the older ones of that group. I know it's only a matter of a couple years, but those prime years, 26, 27, 28, that's next year, right? So, like I said before, if you are expecting prime year power, you'd start to see it more at 25, and he's nowhere near that. But I don't know. I think you just got to keep running him out there, at least for a little while. What I will be interested to see is if the Cardinals continue to win, do they actually start to make those sorts of decisions to try to win, or will they be able to stay locked in on development as their key priority? Because that also changes the equation. I hope they stay the course. I don't think you let a 4 games over 500 start change your plans. But if we are still competing in June or July, that equation might start to change.
I wonder, because I wonder too. I have to imagine that Bloom and Goons are like, this is really fun. This is great. Let's keep going. But the bottom.
Well, you want to see it because you want your young, because the whole team is young. So them winning means it's their young guys doing it. It's not like last year when you could say some of the wins were because of Sonny Gray and things like that. This team winning is the team outside of Dustin May, who we'll talk about. But like everyone is here for next year. So them winning today is prep for winning next year, which is good. Sure. But yeah, I mean, we saw the Rays, was it last year or the year before? They were like 2 games over 500 and they sold at the deadline because they obviously had a plan and they stuck with it. I think you're right. I'd be very surprised if Blooming Goons change the plan. But the deeper it gets into the season, I'm getting way ahead of myself here, but the team that's, negative 11 run differential or whatever. But you might see some of those decisions made a little bit quicker, a little bit differently.
Yeah. Speaking of this early success, something that I found fascinating is the Cardinals are 11th in MLB in homers so far. They have 26. Obviously, that's really held up by a big tentpole that is Jordan Walker and his 8 homers. That again, you can't take those away. But I think overall, even subtracting Jordan Walker's home runs, I think the team has exhibited a little more power than I expected. JJ having 3 is really fun. I think a huge question for this year is, can Alec Burleson take the power step forward? And can we get Ivan Herrera 500 plus plate appearances, and how many homers, and what can he do with that kind of time and that kind of runway? But I thought that was kind of fun. These young Cardinals are kind of slugging right now, which just really did not think was going to be an option this year.
Yeah, if you pull up Alec Burleson's StatCast page right now, it's a lot of red.
It looks he looks look great. Also,
yeah, I test as well. 393 expected WOBA, a 50% hard hit rate. Probably his expected slugging is at 560. So like he's hitting the ball with authority and it is going over the wall. So he still doesn't have the best bat speed, nor does he hit it at the right launch angle consistently enough for me to really think he's like 30 home run power guy. But if we talk about power in the general sense of doubles and just overall slugging, he certainly seems to be making a step forward over previous years.
He just eye test alone, it just seems like so often he's hitting a ball really hard
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's fun. Walker has slowed down a little bit. He struck out. He hasn't hit a home run since we last chatted. He struck out 12 times in the last 6 games. I'm not concerned just yet. I do think that the approach is still there. I do think that he, the defense, is sticking around as well.
Yeah. Did you see the game last night? He
Oh my goodness.
gunning down Marcy at third. It ended up not mattering because it was actually a home run, which was deeply disappointing considering how good that play was. But he was a part of a assist later in the game where clearly they forgot how good of an arm he has. So he's still making a difference out there, which we've talked about the floor with Masyn Winn, like him being not just maybe league average defensive, but maybe actually really good defensively. Also just really changes the overall profile of Jordan Walker and your ability to leave him in the lineup when he will inevitably go through these sorts of streaks. Because
Yeah.
I think the changes he's made are real, and I think they will they will sustain to some degree through the entire season. I think he has become an offensive threat, but the reality is with that swinging the swinging strike rate and overall K rate, strikeout rate, he's going to have periods of just bad luck. I don't think you can sustain a near 30% strikeout rate and not go through a week where you just don't connect the way that you did the week before, and you're not going to hit any home runs. But if he keeps the approach that works, which is having that high of a strikeout rate, the variance of it all will come back around and he'll go on hot streaks again. And so like when you're watching it, pay attention to what he is swinging and missing at, because in the game last night, he struck out several times. And a couple times I thought he got fooled on pitches he wouldn't have gotten fooled on earlier in the year, but he certainly didn't get fooled by a whole bunch of pitches that he would have absolutely been fooled by last year. Like the difference to me last night was that he struck out on a full count at bat, which started out 0-2, and he worked it all the way up to full count, and then he struck out. Last year, it would have been 3 pitches, maybe 4, before he struck out.
Yeah. I think it's worth noting that even though he had those 12 Ks over those 6 games, looking at the stuff that he can absolutely control, which is his swing and launch angle and exit velocity, that kind of thing, he still had only 13 events, so it's obviously a small sample size, an average exit velocity of 92. He maxed out at almost 115, and he had a launch angle of a little over 20 over that time. Yeah. So there's some bad luck. There's just things not falling the way that you want them to, but he's still hitting the ball hard. He's still getting under the ball just enough. It is 1 week. I'm not worried, but it's all looking like he is continuing to have the same approach, the same attack angle, the bat tilt, all of that stuff. So yeah, not worried just yet.
I would love to see him increase, or rather decrease, that whiff percentage, because that is the root cause of the problem. And most of the true elite offensive players in the league don't swing and miss that much. But this is nitpicking, and otherwise, 408 expected WOBA or whatever. So, but if he wants to go from what'll probably be a streaky hitter who does extreme damage when he's on and suffers from really bad games when he's off, if he wants to go from that to like consistent, he's got to work on the whiff rate. But I'll take this. We'll get to that, George. We'll get to that when you're 26. You could just do what you've been doing for the first, month, and don't worry about anything else.
Well, I think it's worth noting that even on this week where he's striking out seems like every at bat, he still carried a over 10% walk rate. He's still
Yeah.
walking at well over his career norm. So it's not all happening at the same time, but it is still trending upward, I think, overall.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. All right. Talk about pitching for a second. Dustin May put two starts, solid starts together, only allowed 2 earned runs over those 2 starts. I think that's by far the best we've seen him pitch. He
Yeah.
really is a string beanie, whippy, weird
Yeah.
looking kind of guy. But it's going the right direction. Again, it's trending well. I do think that when he is landing that breaking ball, that sweeper, I mean, he's has some really bad looking swings on that pitch, especially low and into left-handed pitchers where they are 100% sure they're about to make contact with it, and then they don't. This looks really nice. The velo's been good. Obviously, we'll always take more strikeouts. But I think overall been pretty solid, and he's been in the zone and competitive, not walking guys either.
Yeah, the fastball cutter's looking good. It is those secondaries with movement that have been inconsistent and have been the missing key to the real strikeout rate that I think most people believe he could accomplish. But based off of like we'll take these last 2 starts also, but certainly you can see the path to like the real unlock and the real breakout that has been placed on his shoulders since he's a prospect, so it's kind of fun to see it. I hope we see it, or it's fun to see the ingredients to it. Really hopeful we start to see it for real as he gets more and more into the season.
Yeah. Under 5% walk rate over the last 2 starts. Only, I think it's 1 homer over that time and a 3.23 FIP.
That homer was
all good things.
The very first pitch or whatever, or at least the first at bat of last night, and with barely just off the top of the wall.
Oh God, yeah, that I remember that. Yeah, that
that's the Jordan
was
Walker
annoying.
One. Yeah, because it was called not a home run on the field. Jordan Walker gunned him out at third.
Yep.
And then they called it a home run. Then they reviewed it, confirmed, etc.
We already dunked on the bullpen, but just to stick to the outline really quick, the Cardinals have the worst K per 9 in MLB for the bullpen, and they have overall the Cardinals have the worst K per 9, their entire pitching staff. The bullpen has the 29th worst K per 9. So we're still doing that thing right now. That's still happening.
What that reminds me is that yes, the Cardinals overhauled the future of their pitching this offseason. We are still mostly seeing the guys from last year pitching right now, though. Dustin May, one of the few that is just been added on, and he is not striking people out yet. Outside of him, like everybody was the low K per 9 from last year. It's your Cijntjes and Clarks and Liam Doyles and all that we hope down the road will bring the K rate. But right now it's McGreevy, Palante, Liberator. None of these guys strike anyone out.
Well, since you just brought him up, I wanted to talk about this anyways. Jurrangelo Cijntje just made his first pitch switching start of the 2026 season earlier this week. He recorded an out from both sides of the mound. He went 4 2/3 innings. He allowed 1 earned run and 3 hits while striking out 4. I watched a little bit of the replay, and the stuff on the right-hand side looks good. The stuff on the left-hand side looks really junky and funky, but he went down and was throwing from behind a left-handed hitter and got him out and looked all right. With a guy like Cijntje, your timeline is probably longer than most prospects. I don't really feel strongly. I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, but I did think it was pretty interesting that the Cardinals encouraged it or allowed it or were in party to him doing that.
Yeah, it's very intriguing because the Red Sox, Seattle, one of the few trades we made with not the Red Sox, had like within days before the trade, had announced that they were no longer going to have him switch pitch. And so at least it was still to me a bit of an open question. I know we saw him in spring switch, but that was spring and he'd just been acquired. So it was an open question, at least to me. Maybe it also missed reporting somewhere, but seemed like the Cardinals had not actually made a statement on it. So now, here in actual baseball, if he's doing it, that has to be at the acceptance of the Cardinal organization, which is fun. You know, I'll trust them on this. Like, you can make every argument for either side. We've done that. And if the Cardinals think it can work, I think I'm here for it. Who doesn't want this? You know, everybody wants to see it at the major league level. So I hope it works.
I also hope it works. It would be fun to watch and talk about. Dickie Fitts goes down.
Yeah.
Looks like he is going to have season-ending lat surgery after going 2-0 with a 1.76 ERA, 11 strikeouts over 15 and 1/3 innings. And 3 starts for Memphis this year. Chaim Bloom said, unfortunately, it is a season-ending. Long-term prognosis should be good. We're confident he's going to bounce back and be fine, but he's not going to pitch again this season. So obviously a bummer. Obviously he was dealing with something. It wasn't so big of a deal that he couldn't pitch, but ends up being season-ending lat surgery. And I will say, I hope that Chaim is correct, but it just makes, anytime I hear about the lat and a surgery like this, it makes me think of Alex Reyes. And I think his lat muscle like detached from his skeleton or something like that a few years ago, and never really came back. So
you never really want anything detaching from your skeleton. You know?
Interesting.
If it's attached to my skeleton,
if it's pre-attached, no.
No. Yeah. I think I want, if someone is like stabbed me with a sword, I want that
detached.
Detach that, please.
Yeah. But if it came attached,
if it was pre-installed,
stay there. If it's stock,
yeah. OEM, please. Yikes. Yeah, it's a bummer. There's no such thing as a pitching prospect. This is the life of building a rotation and acquiring a whole bunch of interesting pitching prospects and near MLB level players. It's a minefield. Half of them are going to make it, and then half of that are going to be good, and then half of that are going to be really good, so that's why you acquire in volume. So hopefully he comes back next year healthy. I think we all are pretty hyped on him long term. There's a reason the Cardinals went and targeted him. But see you next year, I guess.
Yep. All right. Last Cardinals thing I want to talk about. Just shout out for John Gazdor, because he has a good name. But also he's had a good start over the first 2 weeks of Double-A. He's got a 129 WRC plus. He's walking almost 12% of the time. He's barely ever striking out. He's already got 3 homers. And he is a right-handed utility infielder. This is kind of fun. But it's nice to see John kind of come onto the scene a little bit and have a nice start to the season. I don't think I'd ever really heard of him until he hit that homer in spring training. But good name, good Great start, good defensive versatility. He's a right-handed hitter. We like it, folks, don't we? We love all of that.
We're having a great time with John. Any other names that you could just say twice and it work okay? Ben,
Nate.
I feel like John, Ben works better than Nate.
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 It's pretty good, actually.
I actually love it now. Call me Nate.
Nate.
All right.
Bob.
Bob.
Joe Bob.
Actually,
Jim
I think
Bob?
probably seems like maybe a lot just works.
Maybe every name works better that way.
Yeah.
All right, Nate, that's all I got.
Well, we're going to talk about the upcoming series, hit a little bit of league news, and then play a little game as always. But before we get to that, we want to remind our listeners again that this show is listener supported on patreon.com. You can subscribe and support the show, just like new subscriber Jordan. Thank you, Jordan, so much for subscribing. We appreciate you. Welcome to the Birdscord, and thank you for signing up. If you subscribe, you get access to the Birdscord. That's our private chat group. It's really become our replacement for most like social media. There's a bunch of great folks in there. Like I already said, some of the single smartest people in the universe. I'm expanding it to the universe, Hambone, all floating around in their little Baron Harkonnen pods, just chatting on their phones to us about
Smarter
the
than
baseball.
Rocky?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Wow. Damn.
I would, as I would kill at least a third of the population of Earth to save Rocky, though. So
that's good.
What do you think about that? Cool. Patreon.com/talking about birds. If you want to support the show, we truly appreciate it. If you want to support the show in a different way, we also really, really do appreciate anyone who takes the time to leave us a review on their favorite podcast platform. It just takes a minute and it helps. And of course, tell your friends, tell your family. Cardinals are fun right now, and you're probably talking about that with your friends or family. So tell them about us. That is still how most podcasts spread. Hamba, where else can people find us?
Yes, you can find us on the socials. We have a Blue Sky. We're on Instagram and TikTok. Of course, you can watch this show on YouTube if you prefer that. You can check out all the podcast links, t-shirts, and more. I know there's a new t-shirt up available right now. I'm not going to spoil it. Go take a look. All that at talkingaboutbirds.com. Of course, you can email us questions or anything to talkaboutbirds@gmail.com, and you can call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737.
848-48-BIRDS. And yeah, on the t-shirts, I had realized there had been an issue with our site. I have refreshed it. I have dropped the prices on the shirts.
Yes.
Everything is so damn expensive right now. Our shirts are less so than they were before. How about that?
Yeah. What, $20 for a t-shirt right now? There you go. And you know what you should do is, if you're smart, you sign up for the Patreon. You do the $4 tier. You wait for us to send you the t-shirt, and then you cancel the Patreon, and then you get a $4 t-shirt, and you screw us over. So consider that.
That is on the table and readily available to anyone. You do get a free t-shirt for subscribing at the Adam Wainwright tier, which is $4 a month. Thank you again to all of our patrons. Sent out some t-shirts the other day. And yeah, they are free to cancel, and we'll eat it.
You could do it.
You could do it. Maybe I'll do it.
I think it'd be funny if somebody did it. Don't do it though, folks. Come on now. All right.
The Mariners are coming to St. Louis for a 3-game set. Fun team, the Mariners.
Fun team. Good team.
Yeah. Good team. What are we expecting to see in this? Moving on. Yeah. What are you looking to see out of this weekend series against the Mariners?
Yeah, Nate, it feels a little lopsided. Bad news for Cardinals and winning games is that Cal Raleigh has found his power stroke. Recently, he is doinking dongs all over the place all of a sudden. And they're pretty much, relatively young and good all up and down the lineup. Julio Rodriguez is a superstar. Randy Arozarena is playing nicely. Luke Raley's kind of having a bounce back season. They got a lot of power in this lineup that maybe lesser known guys that are providing a lot of power. Josh Naylor's bat is slowly turning around, and the Cardinals are going to have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday games. We're going to be George Kirby against Andre Palante. That feels lopsided. Brian Wu and Matthew Liberatore, and then Emerson Hancock against Michael McGreevy. I'll tell you what, Nate, I really like this Emerson Hancock kid. I like all those guys. I pretty much like all of their starters. But Emerson Hancock seems to be really coming into form this year. He is another good.
The Mariners, like he had looked like he'd maybe been relegated to the bullpen. They had an injury. He gets a spot. He gets a chance to start again. Former top prospect, had struggled. Comes in this year, brand new guy, looking like
Yep.
the hype machine that he was before, and is expected to probably come into St. Louis and cruise. Now, everything you said is true. They are projected to be one of the best teams in baseball. They have some of the biggest stars in baseball, but they have also started slow,
Yeah.
and they will continue to be another team that the Cardinals will play that are not technically over 500. They are 10-15 right now.
Yeah.
No one thinks that will last. They're good on both sides of the ball, but you never know. And maybe there's a chance for the Cardinals to keep their bad record going. But I think Brian Wu is one of the best pitchers in baseball. Kirby also, and maybe Hancock also. And all of their offense is coming online. So this could be tough. But again, they have started slow.
To the point in the Cardinals' direction, I think, unfortunately, J.P. Crawford might be cooked from a defensive and offensive standpoint, and he is still an important part of their current lineup. So that's a thing to look forward to, I guess.
Donovan,
they're a good little team.
I think. Will we see Donovan, or is he hurt right now?
Brendan Donovan is currently down, so we will not see him. He is on the 10-day IL with a strained groin.
Ouch.
And Patrick Wisdom also down. We talked about him last week. The new Mariner. He is also on the IL currently.
Yeah, which is a bummer. I was very much looking forward to seeing Brendan Donovan back in St. Louis. Wilson Contreras got a very well-deserved and expected, extended standing ovation in his return to Busch. And I think Donovan probably would have gotten even bigger when he was even more of a fan favorite. So hopefully he'll get a chance eventually for that, but it would have been nice to see him already.
Yeah. I guess next year. I don't imagine the Mariners are coming back again. So anyways, after that series, so that's in Busch. Mariners are coming to Cardinals, and Cardinals head out to Pittsburgh. You've been watching the Pit, Nate? You big Pit guy?
No, I've not been watching the Pit. But I hear it's great.
Mary and I just watched the season finale last night. Oh God, I hope Robbie's okay.
I've been watching maybe the opposite of the Pit, which is Taskmaster. So
I thought you were going to say like The Hill or something like that. The Mound.
Yeah. Well, Project Hail Mary is kind of like the opposite of a Pit. It's going into space.
Yeah, that's kind of the opposite.
Sure.
Your Pittsburgh Pirates, Nate. They are a baseball team.
That no one can refute that. One of the most true things you've ever said.
I feel like, we've talked about the Pirates a lot. I don't love the way that they've organized their team. It seems like, they came out really hot, which was cool. And then everyone started to strike out and cool off. And, Brian Reynolds is kind of being Brian Reynolds. Brandon Lau is striking out quite a bit. Marcelo Ozuna has heated up ever so slightly. Connor Griffin, I think, maybe a little surprising that his start is, you kind of just expect these super prospects to come out of the gates just crushing. And unfortunately, he just hasn't been absolutely crushing on fire. But this is they're at the bottom of the NL Central, which means they're 2 games behind the Cardinals right now.
Yeah, they're 2 games back from first place. They're a half game behind the Cardinals.
Thank you. And the Cardinals, unsurprisingly, are going to be on the wrong side of the pitching matchups. Again, it's a 4-game series. On the Monday game, we got Braxton Ashcraft against Dustin May. Tuesday is Bubba Chandler and Kyle Leahy. Wednesday, Paul Skeens, Andre Palante. Wooey, wooey, woo. And I guess this is breaking, but I'm looking at the schedule right now. And Thursday, it is scheduled to be Mitch Keller and Hunter Dobbins. I don't know how accurate that is. I'm just looking at this right now on the scheduled pitchers list, but we might have a Hunter Dobbins.
I think it's still
season
rumored.
Debut.
I have not seen that officially confirmed, but that's conversation right now. We even could have done a segment on it in the show this week, but Dobbins is expected to be back and called up here shortly. So who's he going to take? How are they going to handle it? So that is not confirmed as I understand it, but probably even by time we release this episode or within a few days of that, that will all be confirmed. Dobbins will be in the rotation, which I'm excited about. I'm very, very
My
excited.
guess, just because of the run of games, there's no off day and everything like that. My guess is it just 6-man rotation and we bop down one of the relievers and rock it that way. But this is all coming at me live, and I don't know, but that's cool. That's exciting. Dobbins, Keller. I mean, who ain't tuning into that?
The O'Neill Cruz continues his really hot start. One of the better when he's on, one of the better players in baseball. So we'll see their offense. They're doing okay. They have a plus 21 run differential or whatever, so doing better than the Cardinals in that regard.
Yeah.
And they look like a competitive team. Now, how long that will sustain, we don't know, but that pitching is legit.
No argument there.
I do think we can just kind of go, for the rest of the season, at least for now, just say you open that by saying this is going to be a tough pitching matchup for the Cardinals. I think that's every team. I don't know if there's a team that we would go against where I'd be like, I think we got the pitching advantage right now.
Nationals.
Yeah, maybe. Especially after we trade every single player to them for James Wood. And then they just
not every single player.
Every starter.
Every major league pitcher. I still think that's a sound idea.
I think so too. So it'll be it's our first big in division matchup. 4 games against the Pirates. Always fun.
It's a must win situation, Nate. They absolutely have to pull these games out.
There's going to be at least one sports writer in St. Louis who calls this the first important series of the year or something like that.
Must win from now until September, baby. We got this.
Yep. PNC is beautiful. Always like to see him play there.
You'll love it.
Okay. Let's go into some league news.
All right. A little bit of news this week. Edwin Diaz of the Dodgers has to undergo surgery for loose bodies in his elbow. He'll miss about 3 months. And the world cried for the Dodgers.
Yeah. I know, poor. Are they going to be okay? Now they have to use their $80 million contract reliever, Tanner Scott, instead of their $130 million reliever or whatever it was.
And I don't know if you've noticed, but Tanner Scott has had a really nice start to the year. So it's like they're just getting,
Oh, no. Yeah. Loose bodies, another thing. If it's supposed to be on my skeleton, don't be loose.
I'll tell you this. I don't want any bodies inside my body. Well, I don't mean that entirely.
There's a lot of angles to go with that I'm just gonna walk right by him.
I'm talking chicken wings, Nate. I got to get those chicken wings.
Yeah, sure. We're not that kind of show, okay?
No, that's filthy and disgusting.
I know what our brilliant listeners are thinking right now. Sweating in their little hover pods right now.
Sweating. All right. Well, that's the thing. We'll move on. The Mets, Nate, they have not won a game since April 7th.
They're approaching a baker's dozen, my boy. They're at 12 losses in a row. Boy, doesn't it feel good? I mean, it's a feel good story of the season that we were all hoping for. You just love to see this sorts of things. I mean, it's truly wild. One of the better teams on paper. I know Soto has been on the IL. He's back today. But even without him, their team should be incredible. And yet they just keep fucking it up. And we could be happier about it, could we, folks?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I saw Lindor hit a big old homer yesterday. But Bichette, Lindor, Francisco Alvarez, Beatty, Simeon, they've all been trash. Carson Bench has come out really, really slow. They do have Nolan McLean. But man.
Yeah.
I saw like there was fans in the stands wearing like Grimace costumes and stuff. And I think people are discussing whether or not they should sacrifice Mr. Met in a ritualistic type ceremony, but
We
it's
were
going bad.
we were walking around in Tower Grove Park the other day, and I thought, like, from a distance, I thought I saw you in the park. It's like, what the hell is he doing here? And I got a little bit closer, and it was Grimace. Grimace was in Tower Grove Park.
Wow.
There was some sort of McDonald's thing going on, and he was there. Grimace himself was walking around in the park. I said, oh, that's not Ben. That's just Grimace from the McDonald's cartoon show. Yeah.
Okay.
I took a picture. I was gonna do this whole thing in the Birdscord, but the picture's pretty shitty, so I didn't send it.
I don't care.
I know you don't, but
Have
I
you had
do.
the big arch?
No, I haven't been. I haven't been to McDonald's in a while. But I thought, we have our fishing trip coming up, Hambone, and we started a tradition last year of burgering in and burgering out of the.
I forgot about
that. So I might see a big arch here in my future.
One other thing to Coachella. Sexy Red played Coachella, and she had a huge arch on stage.
Oh, that's fun.
Felt like I was back home.
Yeah.
The Padres bring in Lucas Giolito in a interesting kind of early season move, trying to obviously bolster their rotation. I don't really have much to say about it other than I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, he keeps bouncing around. It feels like at some point he's going to have like a good moment again, but it just hasn't happened years in a row now, so we'll see.
Speaking of the Padres, it looks like the Seidler family is nearing a deal to sell the team to Jose E. Feliciano, an estimated cost of $3.5 billion, Nathan.
I really hope the Seidler family will be okay.
Oh, no, Seidler, we like Seidler. Seidler was a good owner before his untimely passing. I thought that he really did a good job.
I just hope that family will be okay.
Of course.
$3.5 billion.
I do think that this is an excellent data point to have right before going into a potential lockout so that all of the players and everyone can point at this kind of deal. And, obviously that amount of money is staggering.
I hope this new ownership group or owner family or whatever is someone who cares about the team. In the way I do agree with you. As far as these billionaire groups go, there are ones that are better than others as far as their care and concern for the organization. And I hope that that they care about it, and that it's not just a real estate purchase like some of the other ownership groups are.
Normally, I am happy to dunk on a dead billionaire, but I do feel like Peter Seidler was at least slightly different.
Sure.
All right, final piece of news, a little sad news. Garrett Anderson, who was a fixture of the Angels throughout at least our younger high school days, a World Series winner, all-star, passed away at just 53 years old. Anderson passed away from an acute necrotizing pancreatitis. But really just wanted to mention that have a ton of when I was first getting into baseball, when I was playing baseball video games, when the Angels were good in the early 2000s. Not that he was like a star, but somebody who I liked, somebody who I watched play.
If you were a fan of baseball at that time, you knew who Garrett Anderson was.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Only 53, obviously very sad. Garrett Anderson.
Well, let's go from that into one of my dumb games here, Hambone. Are you ready to play a game? So you and I are both baseball freaks. We watch way too much baseball. We're not just watching the Cardinals. I'm putting on a game or tracking a game kind of, if there's baseball happening, I'm probably paying attention to it. So I thought today, I'm playing a little game I'm calling Rotation. We're going to pick our personal rotations of what teams we're watching right now.
Oh,
does that make sense?
Sure.
So think of it like the way I'm thinking of this is that you have your number one. Who are you watching? And I think we both are Cardinals, right?
Right.
So that's the ace of our staff. So then from there down, and might use this structure for future games too. We're basically picking our top five. But I thought it'd be fun to start over our like what other teams are you into right now? What are you watching? What are you following around the league? So I'll say, like, for me, after the Cardinals, which would be the ace, it has been the Mariners. So this weekend will be quite convenient for me. I can watch both teams at the same time. Really, really like a lot of the players. It's been fun while Donovan has been healthy to have him over there. And just that pitching is elite. And I love Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh. So they're the team that I've been watching the most after the Cardinals. I don't expect you to actually have memorized exactly like your viewing order, but like what comes to mind to you first for like what teams are you watching?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna hate it, but I pay for Rockies TV.
Yeah,
I watch a lot of Rockies. The Rockies are a little more exciting, even though like that doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but like the Rockies are a better team than they were last year. They have guys who are currently hot that maybe they're going to stay hot. Maybe TJ Rumfield is a real player. Maybe Troy Johnston is a real player. And it's really easy to root for guys like Jordan Beck and Ezekiel Tovar. Mickey Moniak kind of bugs me, but that's okay. And I will tell you, like the Rockies baseball, I don't know, have I talked about this on the show yet? But they have changed to having a 3 longmen type deal in their bullpen.
no,
So obviously not how most teams do it. But if the Rockies are up by a reasonable amount or down by a reasonable amount, they will use a long man to preserve their other pitchers. And I'm not saying they're changing baseball or anything like that, but they're actively thinking about organizing their team in a way specific to their situation. And I'm feeling little bits of hope and stuff like that. Yeah.
Groundbreaking for the Rockies. But I want to make sure I understand this a little bit better. So you're saying if they're up, they're just having guys go 3 in it. Like, how is that different than what a long man is typically doing?
I'm saying they have 3 of them instead of 1. Most teams have 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that would have to so that would only really come into play though if they're ahead by multiple runs several games in a row, right?
It depends on the situation. Like I went to a game where they were up by 2 runs and they had a guy pitch the final 4 innings of the game.
I see. So it's not just blowout wins or big wins. It's like they'll go for 4 innings if they're up by 1 or 2.
Yeah. Like Antonio Senzatella has racked up a shocking amount of innings for a reliever so far, and he has been even more effective, which isn't saying a lot again. But they are doing some interesting things with bullpen usage.
So what you're saying is they're slowly inching towards maybe building some sort of bullpen that everybody goes around 2 to 3 innings every time, and you just sort of rotate through those depending on game, the moment in the game. Which is exactly what I've been calling for.
Your plan devalues the starting pitcher and takes innings away from the best pitchers in baseball, which is why it's so stupid. I've explained this 1,000 times.
What if instead of 6 innings every 5 days or 7 innings every 5 days, Tarek Skubal goes 3 innings every other day?
He couldn't do that. His arm would fall off.
We don't know that.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay. How many? So that would go. He would throw. What is that? 80 times 3. That I don't know what the. I can't do that math off the top of my head.
I mean, that would be 240.
He would throw 240 innings, throwing every other day.
Sure, there would be gaps there depending on the game situation, but you'd get to 200 innings or whatever. You're just using him more strategically instead of 7 innings straight.
And having him just win a game for you is not good strategy.
Maybe, but I bet there was a game 3 games late, a moment 3 games later would have been really awesome to have Tarek Skubal and having him.
Every situation would be good to have Tarek Skubal in it. You dumb piece of shit.
But having him pitch against the bottom of the lineup in the 6th inning or whatever is not necessarily the best effective use of his skills. I'd rather have him be brought in to the top of the lineup in a game 3 days later than having him go against the bottom of the lineup for the 2nd time or whatever in a game where you're up by 4 or whatever. Yeah. Just mixing and matching way more like what the Rockies are doing. I got a call, Dave Podesta. Sounds like he's onto something. Sounds like he might have been looking over my shoulder circa 2016 on MLB The Show. because that is a version of what I'm talking about.
I guess.
It's a step in that direction.
Okay. Whatever makes this conversation end, I will say yes to.
What were we talking? Okay, so you did the Rockies.
Jesus Christ.
After the Mariners, I will say the team I'm watching the most is the Blue Jays. Sticking in the AL, I find myself, I don't know if it's just like a weird, unnecessary loyalty to the Cardinals. But it's like I almost never have like a real favorite team in the NL outside of the Cardinals, you know. So a lot of the games I watch outside of the NL or outside of the Cardinals are AL games. And it's the Blue Jays. Vladdy is locked in. He's not hitting a ton of bombs, but he's hitting like 340 and just crushing the ball. So they're looking really good. They obviously almost won the World Series last year and are continuing to play well. So I'm a big fan of the Blue Jays, and they're a lot of fun to watch.
I like the Blue Jays. My second team is going to be the Dads.
Yeah.
Two main reasons for that. They're on the West Coast, which means that after all the other games are over, I can keep watching the Padres. Number two is Don Orsillo, their play-by-play man, who I think is hilarious and one of the better announcers in baseball. Outside of those things, like they do have a fun, interesting team.
Yeah.
They are doing weird things, and they are generally pretty talented up and down the lineup. I mean, really, just Fernando Tatis and Jackson Merrill are worth watching, and they have Machado and Xander and all those other guys. But yeah, I love the Dads. Watch a lot of Dads baseball.
Yeah. I like watching them too. They've been. I definitely, they're somewhere in my top list. I don't know if they're making the top 5 for me. I think my next team is the Athletics, who are having a really good start to the season, at least compared to maybe expectations. They are currently in first place in the AL West, although they are only 13-11. But they're doing that without Nick Kurtz really doing anything just yet. Tyler Soderstrom has had a slow start as well. Some of their mashers from last year, Brent Rooker is on the IL. And despite all that, they're still playing pretty well. What's his name? Shea Langoliers is crushing the ball, which is a ton of fun. I think their jerseys are sick. I think they've been fucked over. And so I like to watch the Athletics.
Sure. I think my next team is probably the Orioles. I've kind of just I think because of the St. Louis ties, I've been a fan of the Orioles since like high school.
Yeah.
Just kind of glommed onto them back in like the Brian Roberts era, Nick Markakis, like those guys I was really into. Also really like their hats and jerseys, their style, their ballpark, all of that stuff. And they could be really good. Sometimes their games are extremely frustrating if you're rooting for them, but I really only root for the Cardinals, so it makes it, not too big of a deal. And I get to watch all the other AL East teams, which is fun seeing Judge and that.
Yeah, this is my last one, and part of me wants to say the Yankees because I find myself watching a lot of Aaron Judge at bats. Yeah. It's just I just like watching him hit. He's maybe one of the best of all time at this point. He's in the process of making the case
for sure
for being one of the best hitters in baseball history. But what I'm actually watching more is the Red Sox, even though that's been kind of tough. I want to watch Wilson Contreras. I want to watch Sonny Gray. I think that they have the potential to be a fun young team. It's been not the best start, but I like watching games in Fenway. I think Roman Anthony will be a star. There's a lot of people to like on that team, even though as a Cardinal fan, I hate the Red Sox with every fiber of my being. They know what they did, but the players on the team, I like a bunch of them. So I find myself watching a bunch of Red Sox. What's your last one?
I don't even like to talk about it. It's true, so I won't lie to you. Because of the time zone thing and because of the Shohei Ohtani factor, I watched a lot of Dodgers games. I do like the announcement crew for the most part.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, when I'm browsing through the app and I see Shohei Ohtani's up to bat, I turn the game on, then I end up watching some Dodgers.
That's me with
There
Judge.
are a lot of there are a lot of things that I don't like about the Dodgers,
Sure.
and I find frustrating. But I want to watch Shohei Ohtani play and Yoshinobu play and see what Roki Sasaki is going to do. Max Muncy has had a really nice start to the year. Like, they have a bunch of stars, and I guess I like shiny things, so I just kind of like.
Well, yeah, they're the best team
drifting that way.
They're the best team in baseball. They've won the World Series 2 years in a row. It's chock full of Hall of Famers. If you are just a fan of watching good baseball, you are going to inevitably be looking at the Dodgers, whether you like it or not. If you want to watch some of the best baseball being played, you have to be looking at the Dodgers. So, which I will repeat, my take is that the Dodgers aren't the problem. It's every other team participating like the Dodgers, but
I agree. It is just hard to root for a team bringing in Edwin Diaz and Kyle Tucker. Like you are right, though. It comes down to other teams should have signed him. I do think that the Dodgers have this like advantage of momentum thing that no other team could compete with right now, except for with oodles and oodles of dollars. Because
but they earned that by winning over it. Yeah. So.
Fully. And like, if somebody's offering you $150 million, let's say that, the Dodgers are offering you 150 and the Mets are offering you 200 over the same period of time, where would you go? Where would Nate Heiniger, the baseball player, go?
I mean, at that point, probably the Dodgers. 50 million is a pretty big difference, as if I have any understanding of what that actually does to an individual lifestyle. But like your point being, like, we already know multiple players have taken less money to go to the Dodgers. That's part of how they get this like flywheel going. Is they're people just want to play for them, because why wouldn't you? Everything there seems better. And to be fair, they clearly have access to money at this point that just some teams don't, even if the owner was like, I will commit 100% of my wealth to building the best baseball team, they're not going to be able to compete with the Dodgers. So it is getting to a point where it's a problem. But most teams could compete way more like the Dodgers do than don't.
Yeah. And I think that there's those other things that you hear players talk about, of like the way that Dodgers take care of family members, the technology that they have. Yeah. There's all these other things that teams could get better at if they cared to. You
could be like the White Sox and put in a bidet for Murakami.
That's man, how good has he been?
Yeah, he's had a great start.
Oh my God. I was looking at his StatCast yesterday, and holy shit, he hits the hell out of the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, he's doing it's a Kyle Schwarber thing,
I want him to win. I want good things to happen to Murakami. I want him to keep going.
Yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll be back next week, as always, with another episode. Check out the Patreon at patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Shout out to the patrons. Links to everything at talkingaboutbirds.com. We will continue our coverage next week. Hopefully, we have a good series against the Mariners and the Pirates. And until next week, go Cardinals.
Pretty boys.
Pretty boys.